Hello, it's Doris with All Day Books, and I'm here to talk about the BookTube prize. So I'm going to give you my rankings, and I'm going to give you my reactions to what went through from the octafinals to the quarterfinals. I'm going to tell you what I'm reading next. Not too much because, Mom's a word about that. And tell you about a few of the BookTube prize ranking videos that I've been watching. Just 3, because those are the last 3 that I've watched, and my memory is not so deep. So the 3 most recent, so let's just start with those. So I watched Jennie Johnston, who was in the same category as I was. I was in translated fiction. I forget which group, but we'll get to that soon. And I really enjoyed watching her reviews of those books. I'm going to link her below, as well as the other 2 ladies. If you're interested in any of these books, I highly recommend that you watch her video, any of the books that I read for the first round. I highly recommend you watch her video. It's very thorough and in the moment. All 3 of these ladies kept vlogs and reviewed the books as they read them, which I did not. We'll get to that. But yes, watch her, and her thoughts about the rant that I'm going to go on are just spot on. So yes, you're going to get a book rant from Doris. I know this is a rare occurrence, but trust me, you're going to want to stick around because this is a good one. Really good. Infuriated. So yes, Jennie Johnston. Currently, I'm in the middle of Cousins. Jennie had a trilogy. Cousins got a duology of videos. So currently in the middle of hers, and she is doing nonfiction, which is my jam. And I always love Cousins' thoroughness, the way she thinks about all angles and discusses those with us as she's going through the vlogs, and the little tiny interjections of food and plants and such. It's just, perfect. And then this morning before work, I watched Heather from Soggy Expat. All linked below. Watch them. She, bless her heart, this is her first time with the BookTube prize. Cousin and Jennie are, old pros. Heather's a newbie. And she did nonfiction as well, but she didn't get a good batch for her reading tastes. But her video was so good. I just loved her trauma in reading them. So enjoyable that I was actually 6 minutes late for work. I kid you not. So, yeah. And she, I don't know why she's not doing translated fiction, because she would be so good at it. I'm really not. I did it and I had fun doing it. But nonfiction is more my sweet spot. But I like to change things up. But yeah, I appreciated her thoughts on everything, but I appreciated her thoughts especially on realizing that these weren't her tastes in her interest. They weren't her tastes because they weren't her interest, which I think is something I've been thinking about a lot in books recently, especially with unhauling a few of them. I know that's a dirty word around here, but anyway. So watch those 3 videos, and now I'm going to rank the books for you, and I apologize in advance. There will be a 1 to 2 sentence summary, maybe even fragments of what these books are about, and then just a random off about why I put them where I did in my rankings. Except for the last one, in which I will rant using my fingers. I have thoughts, 3 of them, about that book. So I'm gonna change it up here and go in reverse order from the usual. I'm gonna tell you my first place book down to the last, because I think the drama will be much better that way. Otherwise, it would be just so anticlimactic, and we don't want that around here. We're here for the entertainment. So, coming in first place, oh, I'm gonna have lighting issues. We'll see how this goes. Coming in first place was How to Order the Universe by Maria Jose Ferrada. My first place. I'm the one ranking these books, so that's okay. I found this book, like, this was the first one I read of the batch, and I just found it charming. From beginning to end, I was charmed. So charmed. It's set in Chile during Pinochet. It's kind of a woman looking back on her younger years. So you've got a child narrator, which I know isn't popular, or it can be unpopular. But I loved her. Okay, M is my sweet spot. Like, her snarky little voice was just, I loved it. I loved it. You guys may or may not know this about me. Like, I feel like I've got a pretty strong filter. I'm a public school teacher. I mean, by trade, I have to have a pretty strong filter. But inside where not many people see, there's a constant snarky monologue going on. So yeah, this snarky little 7-year-old who progresses to be like, I don't know, a 16 or 17-year-old by the end. I loved her. I truly did. I truly did. Her father's a traveling salesman. You know, she skips school and goes with him. It's all good. It's all good. Did I say I was a public school teacher? Yes. Is this going to work for you guys? We'll try a few more. Coming in second place was Strange Beasts of China by Yang Yi, translated by Jeremy Tang. How to Order the Universe was translated by Elizabeth Breyer, by the way. Okay, Strange Beasts of China was strange. I will admit that. It was very strange. I understand why it did not make it through to the next round, but I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was super interesting. It's kind of short stories connected together about strange beasts and where to find them. No, I'm being funny. I think it was alluding to politics and history and stuff that I'm not as familiar with. But I just enjoyed it. Number 3, the only one that I read physically, the rest I read by ebook from my library. Where You Come From by Sasha Stanishik, translated by Damien Searles. This is 1992. A boy and his mother flee the war in Yugoslavia and arrive in Germany. 6 months later, the boy's father joins them. This was great. I really enjoyed this. And I probably would have ranked it higher. It wouldn't have jumped the universe book because, like I said, I'm here for the snark. But I really did genuinely enjoy this. And I thought it was, pretty deep, which I like in books. But the problem with this one was that I felt like probably the first third of it and a little bit of the end needed tightening. It wasn't edited as well as it could have been. Like, it took me that long to sink into the book before it became really good to me. So yeah, I just felt like he was wandering and wordy and then it got super good and then drifted a little bit. So not as tight as it could have been, but I really enjoyed it. And then, yeah, number 4, did I tell you? Yeah, I did. Number 4, I put Loop by Brenda Lozano, translated by Annie McDermott. This was a woman whose boyfriend kind of left to go see his mama in Spain, I think it was Spain. Like I said, go watch Jennie Johnston's video if you want to know more about these books, because she's so much better than I am. And so she's missing him and writing these letters and wondering if he's ever going to come back. And I just, like, the writing was nice, but I didn't feel like it ever went anywhere or said anything. So there's that. Number 5, I put Khalil by Yasmina Khadra, translated by John Cullen. This one was, the cats lost it. This one was suicide bombers. And it was an important story to be told, but it was really flat. Really flat for me. So I felt like it was an outline of the important things that needed to be told, but there wasn't any energy or emotion interjected into that outline. So it just fell really flat for me. And then, okay, I'm putting my, now let me read the number 6. Number 6 is Magma by Thora Jorleifsdottir, translated by Magma Teach. I'm gonna put my list down for a minute. So this book is about a toxic relationship, abusive relationship. And this is probably the only 1-star read that I have ever given while on BookTube or ever. Like, I tend to be really good at picking out books that are my jam. I am not overly concerned about star ratings. So most books I pick up, I assume it's going to be a 4. And if it's really good, for whatever reason, language, emotion, thought structure, I'll bump it up to a 5. If there's a flaw, I'll knock it down to a 3. But by and large, that's my range. You know, if something is really annoying to me, I will DNF it. And I pick my own books most of the time, except for the BookTube prize. So like I said, I'm really good at knowing what is going to work for me. But obviously, when you, as Heather has found out, when you judge the BookTube prize, you're not always going to get books that are in your wheelhouse. And this book is not in my wheelhouse. But I read it and I gave it 1 star. So these are the reasons. Number 1, this woman went from a somewhat rebellious, I live my life by my own rules, out on the edge, wild child, to a toxic relationship where she shrunk inside herself and became less than she was. Okay, that totally happens to women, 100%. However, the author didn't take us from A to B. There was no, character development that let me know why this happened. So I wasn't here for that. You know, I needed more development to connect with the character and also to learn from the character. So I didn't like that. Number 2, I tend personally to not like sex-driven books. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like sex in books. That's fine. I just don't like books where the plot is driven by sex. Now, sometimes it can work, but typically that's just not really what I appreciate in a book, not what my style of reading tastes are. And this one was very toxic, and there were scenes that were very explicit, and explicit in a toxic kind of way, and it wasn't for me. Okay, now here comes the rant, number 3, and I am totally going to spoil the end of this book, so if you don't want the book spoiled for you, just, you know, zoom past the 3 fingers until I get, you know, done ranting about the ending of this book. So here it goes. This is your warning. This book, like, the author must be such a naive person to write this, but our main character becomes very depressed. I really do not like to film videos when there's cat box noise in the background. I guess I should stop this right now. Are you done, Moo-Moo? Moo-Moo. Oh my God. Okay, where was I? Okay, sorry for the intermission. This main character was just very naive. Very naive. But I cannot excuse that for writing this ending. This ending is entirely problematic. I'm just really infuriated by it. So the main character becomes very depressed and suicidal. She attempts suicide. Prior to that, she has stopped taking her birth control pills. She's still in the toxic relationship. You can see it coming a mile away. Who wouldn't see it coming a mile away? She becomes pregnant. And as you know, her mother is rushing her to the hospital. She's in the hospital. Of course, they do a pregnancy test. She's in the hospital. Of course, she's pregnant. Of course, she is. And they tell her, and she's like, oh, I'm going to live my life now. This is going to fix me. And that's the end of the book. No. Okay. When you're reading a romance and the main character has trauma in her life or his life, that she needs to get through, and you know, somebody comes and lo and behold, you fall in love and it's fixed. That's bad enough. But to put a child in that mix and say, this woman who's depressed, suicidal, toxic relationship, can't support herself, her life is basically a train wreck. 3 fingers are still up. And suddenly she finds out she's pregnant and she's going to be all better. No. What kind of message are you putting out in the world? What kind of message are you putting out in the world? No child needs to come into that situation. And I realize that this is reality. This does happen. But you didn't need to send that message out into the world that this is a fix for your own problems, is to bring a child into it. So moving on from that, I just am infuriated by that book, and it didn't go through, thank goodness. So now we have the books, the reactions. So translated fiction, I don't really have a lot of thoughts because when I voted on those, so what happens with the BookTube prize before the first round starts, Robert compiles a list of prospective books that he researches extensively throughout the year. And we vote on our favorites, 18 or 20, I forget how many. And from all of those judges voting, and we vote on all 3 lists if we want to, he makes the original 48 for each of the 3 categories. So I had to do a lot of research to get my translated fiction, but I don't remember all that research, to be quite honest. So I'm just interested. I'm kind of more interested to see the top 6 of this and see what they are and how they shake out, and of course watching the videos as they come. But I don't really have any reaction thoughts to the translated list because I don't follow it as well. And just in general, I haven't been reading as much fiction at large in the last 2 years. Call it COVID, I don't know. I've been reading a lot of nonfiction lately, the last 2 years lately. So I don't really have all that much to say about the fiction list either. I was shocked to see that Matrix didn't go through, and I think that's the only one that I was really invested in that did not go through, was Matrix. And like, I am so invested in the thought of reading Matrix. I can't wait. And then I'm also reading, I'm planning on reading Obama's favorites from 2021 in the second half of the year. And I did notice that most of those are fiction. There's a few nonfiction, but out of all of them, I think 5 went through and 5 didn't. So Obama's got a 50% ranking according to the BookTube prize. So that's what I'm following there. Very excited for How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House. I've been hearing a lot about that. The Trees, Cloud Cuckoo Land, and Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. Those are the ones that I'm like, I haven't read them. Like, I don't think I've read any of these. I just really haven't been reading a lot of fiction in the last 2 years. So on to nonfiction, which I do have things to say. Last year, Heidi and I were quite disappointed by how the nature writing went. It just really on the struggle bus, which made us very sad, very sad. But this year, it's doing much better. So according to my notes here, there were 10 nature writing books on the original 48, and 6 of those went through. Yay! So we're still in it. We're still in it. So the ones that went through were A World on the Wing, Fuzz, Islands of Abandonment, Diary of a Young Naturalist, Orwell's Roses, and Under a White Sky. So very excited about those. I actually had only read 3 of this already. But yeah. Oh, a couple more that I was interested in outside of the book naturalists, or just the naturalist arena, nature writing, were The Black Church and A Little Devil in America. Those look really fun to me. Other things I want to say. Oh, well, let me finish this before I get distracted. And then on this list, the ones I was surprised, or not surprised, but disappointed. But having watched Heather and Kazan, I understand. So I was kind of interested in reading 1,000 Years of Joys and Sorrows and the Amur River because I'm interested in China right now, but those 2 did not go through. Those Precious Days didn't go through by Ann Patchett. And there was Graceland at Last by Margaret Wrinkle. So the essay collections from authors I didn't like, that I do like those authors, they didn't go through. The nature writing that didn't go through was A Most Remarkable Creature and Beloved Beast, which those 2 are kind of low on my interests, so I understand that. I was surprised by On Animals because I think Susan Orlean is a real popular writer. Isn't she the library writer? Yeah, the library book. So I was surprised by that. And I meant to look and see what else was in that bracket that maybe pushed it out. And then The Color Breaker, which was about CRISPR and the genome and all that. Like, I've heard great things about that one, so I'm really surprised. And that one I'm still planning on reading, even though. So, yeah, those are my ramblings on the quarterfinals, octafinals. And I was going to say something else. Oh, I was going to like gloat a little bit. So, and then I'll be done. I know this is long, but you know. So I did translated fiction first round, as I said, and I was expecting there to be a lot of short books because translated fiction tends to have a lot more short books for whatever reason. So I was just like so delighted when I got my list and researched them, and 5 of the 6 were shorties. And the one that wasn't a shorty was this one, which was like solidly average in length, like right around the 300 page mark. So I just had an easy go of it with round 1. I finished in February. So now I'm doing round 2, the quarterfinals, and I'm doing nonfiction. So very excited about that. I got my list on April 1st. And you know, nonfiction, I expect the books to be like average length, 300 to 400 pages, with a lot more of the larger 400 to 500-600 pages, and even a chunky outlier kind of situation. So basically, I'm expecting all the books to be in the 300 to 800 page range, and I'm fine with that. I love nonfiction. I got my list, and the books are all on audiobook between 6 and 10 hours. Like there was a 10-hour one, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 6. So like that's like 4 shorties and 2 average, but the short end of average. So I've already read 4 of them, and it's only April 7th. So go me. I'd probably be halfway through the 5th, but I'm reading them via ebook from my library, and the remaining 2 are on the wait list. So yeah, anyway, having fun. So I'll link Cousin Jennie and Heather below if you want to watch those. They're great. And can't put any cat footage if you're still even listening to me, because this is so long, except for you heard the cat scratching. If I leave it in, I may edit it out. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.